So this is a quick video on numbers. This is just going to go over briefly some of the stuff you need to know for your maths GCSE. So within obviously numbers we have all numbers, and then we can split all numbers into rational numbers and irrational numbers. Rational numbers there's basically three types of rational numbers. There are integers, there are fractions, and there are decimals. So integers are just whole numbers. They could be positive, they could be negative, or it can be zero. So whole numbers, obviously -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, so on. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As long as they're whole numbers, any sign, and it can also be 0, then it's an integer. What we can't have are fractions, decimals, square roots, or irrational numbers, obviously. If it's rational, it's definitely not irrational. Decimals again, and irrational numbers like pi. So those are integers. Moving on to fractions. A fraction is any two integers other than 0 divided together. So 1 divided by 2, also known as a half, that's a fraction. 7 divided by 9, or 7/9. So 7 is an integer because it's a whole number, just so happens to be positive. 9 is also a whole number, so they can be divided, and that's a fraction. -53, that fits our definition of being an integer because it's a whole number, 53, and it's negative, -53. And it's also a fraction because it can be divided by 101. 101 is a whole number, just so happens to be positive. So -53 divided by 101 is a fraction. And for the same reason, -9/2 is also a fraction. So a fraction is a rational number. Moving along to decimals. Now we have two types of decimals. We have terminating decimals, i.e. they end or they terminate, and we have recurring decimals, and these are decimals that never end and they keep repeating in a pattern. So 1/3, for example, is 0.33333 forever and ever, and that's a recurring decimal. Note, however, even though it recurs and it repeats, it's not irrational. So within decimals we have terminating decimals, 1/2, which is 0.5, and that's it. Doesn't repeat, doesn't carry on. 1/2 is just 0.5, end of story. And we have recurring decimals. Now, following back up the tree to rational numbers, the other side of the story is irrational numbers. So irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be written as a fraction. So we can't do this. We can't express a irrational number as a fraction. We can't ever get it into this form. It's just not possible. And so they're decimals, or they can only be expressed as decimals, or like pi, we just call it pi, and there's a symbol there to represent it. So we say that they're decimals that never end and never repeat. So in a sense they're kind of similar to recurring decimals because they never end. However, irrational numbers never repeat. Pi, for example, 3.142 and so on, it never ends and it never repeats. And in fact there are programs in the world that are trying to see if pi does end. We know it doesn't, we can work it out mathematically, but there are computer programs running to get pi to as many decimal places as they can, which is infinite because it never ends. So there we go. Out of all the numbers, there are rational numbers, integers, fractions, decimals, and there are irrational numbers. And we need to know about this for your maths GCSE. So I hope that helps. If it has, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. You'll be able to find all these notes on my Patreon channel. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching.